Part of the understanding of people's behaviors is explained by models like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where um, we have very basic needs that we tend to meet first before we consider anything else. So um, we need food, water, sleep, warmth, exercise, etc. Those are the basic needs, and generally, the general premise of this hierarchy is that we will seek out to satisfy those needs before we look at any of these higher order needs. So, safety and security is the next level. Physical safety, economic security, freedom from threats, freedom, peace, essentially. Um, then, once those are sorted out, we move on to this next highest level of need, which is the sociological type of need, where we belong to a particular group, identification with a particular tribe, group, or team, being accepted by your tribe. This is the next level of need. And then we move on to this ego need, where you have some sort of status within your family or community or amongst friends. And then right at the top is self-actualization. So once we have each one of these as a building block, we can move up to the next level of need. So the top level of need is having challenging projects, opportunities for a creative and innovative life, learning and creating at a higher level. And so when we think about this in the health education and health promotion perspective, actually trying to get individuals or a community engaged in a particular health intervention can be guided by an understanding of what motivates people to participate. Another theory which helps us understand how individuals weigh up considering changing their behavior is the socio-cognitive theory. And it basically, as the name suggests, it's a cognition, and it basically considers the relationship between an individual and their social environment or social context. And so basically there are three concepts that are considered in this particular theory. That is concepts of incentives, outcome expectancy, and efficacy expectation. So if we look at these three issues, what's in it for me? Will I succeed? And if so, what are the success factors? And can I do it? Am I able to do it? So, if we look at, say, the example of somebody who's overweight, so BMI greater than, say, 25 is overweight. They want to lose weight. Well, what might drive them to lose weight? Firstly, what is the incentive? The incentive might be they will be more mobile, so they'll be able to move around more easily when they sit down in a plane. They might be more comfortable, whatever. The second one is, if I do this, will it work anyway? So they need to be convinced that if they, say, cut down on snacks, then they will lose weight. And the third issue is about efficacy or self-efficacy. Now, whether or not they will be able to, for example, do it. So, am I able to actually reduce the amount of snacks that I eat? Am I able to survive just on 3 meals a day? And this socio-cognitive theory tends to provide a background for people to engage in a particular intervention. There's another theory that was developed in the 50s, and that's the theory of the health locus of control. And essentially, it is based on this idea that we've got internal factors and external factors which impact on our ability to behave, our behavior, our ability to change behavior. And basically, So this is basically the internal factors, are self-control, and the the external factors are either powerful others or something that's just based on chance or luck. And when we frame people within this framework, those people who have a higher score in terms of their internal self-control are more likely to succeed in behavior change than people who say, "Oh well, it's other people who basically influence my behavior, it's other factors which influence my behavior." And again, it's about how an individual perceives their ability to influence and control their life. Now, if you'll remember, again, health promotion is about empowerment. And so this particular theory talks about people's ability to influence and control their life. So there is a really strong link between the intention of health promotion and this particular theory about why people behave. Now, I mentioned self-efficacy previously, and this needs to be defined because time and time again, when we look at the determinants of health behavior, often there's a whole range of factors which regularly are associated with health behavior, but one of them is self-efficacy. So self-efficacy is a judgment of one's own ability to accomplish a certain level of performance. So, for example, one's own ability. For example, if we're telling people that they should increase their vegetable intake, an example of self-efficacy is, am I able to choose vegetables, identify vegetables? Am I able to prepare vegetables? So these are all aspects of self-efficacy, which people will ask if you tell them that they need to enhance their vegetable intake. So more generally, if we talk about self-efficacy, it's talking about the degree to which personal mastery performances can be attained. They've seen others succeed. They have other people who can tell them that they can do it. You can do it. So you can do it. That's an example of something that's said quite often, and a lot of personal trainers actually rely on this particular strategy, verbal persuasion, and physiological feedback. So basically, elation is a positive feedback of a particular behavior, anxiety is a negative feedback. And when you're a health educator, you can't rely just on one particular strategy for enhancing self-efficacy. Generally, health educators need to structure the activities of all of these into consideration. Earlier we talked about the health belief model, and again, this is part of understanding where the community is at, or where an individual is at. Because an example I think I gave in the first lecture was about water, and how in some cultures water means clean. And so if you tell people that, if you tell people that the water is dirty, so there's some dirty water over there, in some cultures that makes no sense because water is always clean. So you need to understand the perspective of the community or the individual that you're dealing with prior. Because if you're telling them to avoid dirty water, and in their culture there's no such thing as dirty water, then basically they think that you're a bit strange and that your advice is not particularly useful. And this health belief model in general has been developed to explain health-related behavior It is based on the fact that people do a cost-benefit analysis. So, okay, to change behavior, this is going to cost me something. Now, will the benefits, so it's cost-benefit, basically, and what you want is for the benefits to outweigh the costs. And this is an important factor. So if, for example, somebody who smokes is thinking, well, the cost to me is that I'll be anxious and I'll feel as though I need a cigarette, the benefits will be that in 20 years' time, I'll be more healthy. So often the costs are quite low compared to the benefits in the person's mind. It's only when they get closer to this 20-year limit that they realize, in fact, that the benefits are more important than the costs. And so you might then consider the strategy of having these health warnings on food labels. The problem is that there's a real temporal disconnect between the action of actually smoking a cigarette and the action of having throat cancer. And so it's quite difficult for people to weigh up the cost benefits when the distance between exposure and effect is so great.